The last thing I'd like to talk about today is the poetry. And I'd like to talk about the poetry in a couple of different ways. One is the meaning, and the second is in terms of what we just got done talking about, and that is stress and articulation and whatnot. But first of all, would you let me read the poetry to you? I think singers are the best storytellers. And I think it's very important for people in this day and age to tell stories. I think choirs are probably the most important storytellers that we have because there's more of us than the famous, the few famous singers who are storytellers, say Bob Dylan or James Taylor or long ago Pete Seeger. And the reason storytellers are important, and they've always been important for thousands of years, is because people learn about themselves through hearing stories. And as you might agree with me, that politically, we don't listen to one another's stories very well. And no matter what somebody's political persuasion is, we don't listen to the other side very well. And a lot of times too, you probably find this in your public circles, that when people ask, how are you? They don't give you very long to tell them how you are. And so we generally don't tell people how we really are. We say fine, or okay, or busy. We give quick one-word answers. If we could tell more stories in our culture, I think we'd have a greater amount of empathy. And that word came up earlier in this class, in that we are all about empathy. We tell stories and we feel one another's feelings and we are expressing constantly. And because of that, we develop an understanding for other people through telling their stories. Choirs never sing about themselves. We always sing about some other story. But now we're going to tell a story about ourselves because we are experiencing something with the greater culture. And this song speaks so well into our time. It's almost like it made itself be chosen for this concert, knowing that we weren't going to be together. Listen to these words. All we are, we have found in song. You have drawn this song from us. Songs of lives unfolding. They fly overhead. They cry overhead. Longing and rising from a song within. So I think of that as I've been teaching my classes and my choirs, we can't meet together. And so they just show up on a Zoom meeting all in their little boxes on my computer. And I have to try to lead a choir practice. And it really breaks your heart to not be with everybody together. But what's great about that is that everybody is alone and everybody is in their own little box. We're going through our own lives. They're unfolding in different ways. Some of you are going to be graduating from high school this year. Some of you are going to get a new job. Some of you are going to move away. There's just amazing things happening for all of you. And when we get together in a choir, all those stories are still being told. Your lives are unfolding. The songs cry, the songs fly, as the poem says. Moving like the rise and fall of wings, hands that shape our calling voice on the edge of answers. You've heard our cry, you've known our cry, and music's fierce compassion flows from you. And you know who this makes me think of? Your conductor. The conductors who were drawn into this profession because of music's fierce compassion touched them deeply years ago, and now they can't stop doing it. And they're sharing that feeling with you and drawing that out. Compassion, the word passion means to suffer, and so compassion means to suffer with or to feel with somebody. And there we are with empathy again. And their hands, they draw that out of us with their gesture, like moving like the rise and fall of wings. That's the conducting gesture. And then not only does it flow from them, that fierce compassion, it begins to flow from you. The night is restless with the sounds we hear. It's broken and shaken with the cries of pain. For this is music's inner voice saying, yes, we hear you, all you who cry aloud, and we will fly, answering you, so our lives sing, sing. Wild we will fly, wild in spirit we will fly. This is so hopeful, and this is the part that I think really speaks to our world's experience. Never before in my lifetime has the world ever had to hunker down like this, or had to be taking care of one another like this. And there are a lot of people crying out in pain right now. And even before this epidemic, people were crying out in pain constantly. And a musician always remembers this. So when I ask you, how are you? Are you having a good day? You can always say yes or no, but we can't say completely yes. Because as long as there is suffering in this world, the musician has a little piece in there that's suffering with them. And that makes us greater artists. That's what this poem is about, the cry out. And the musician answers that. My hope is that you take the experience of this piece and the experience of your choir and the experience of us singing together, and you go out and give that away to people that need it. Like a feather falling from the wing, fragile as a human voice, afraid, uncertain, alive to love. We sing as love, afraid, uncertain, yet our flight begins as song. I love the honesty of that last verse, that we're afraid and uncertain too. Where our lives bring us constantly to places where we're not sure what the next step is. But our flight begins in song. Song gives us the confidence. Song helps us remember. We remember the great words we've sung. We remember the great feelings and the strength we feel when we sing together, that our hearts beat as one, that we breathe together, that we join together. Super powerful. So the last aspect of text that I'd like to share about is combining then the exercise that we just did, the feeling of press, glide, light glide, float, with the words. When you go to back now, once you are finished with this video, and go and work with the rehearsal video, again, I'd like you to go through that video and listen for these different aspects. Let your ear be drawn to the different weights that you'll hear, and you'll say, oh, he's floating there. Oh, he's pressing there. And see if you can maybe mark in the score the things that you might want to remember. And then the other thing is paying attention to the rhythm and how sometimes it slows down, obviously, like in a retard or in a tempo change. But because of the way that text gets elongated and shortened, or phrases, certain unimportant words speed up to go to the important word, or sometimes words after the important word kind of slow a bit, just like our natural speech patterns. There's a slight give and take in the tempo, and see if you know those things as well. The finishing touch is just how we emphasize text. You can sing it, and with your own choir, when you do this piece, please feel free to go through, and whatever your mood is in a particular day, or whatever your particular feelings of expression are, that can shape your text the way you would like. Fortunately or unfortunately, for a performance like this, we all have to agree to compromise and put our own personal stress and unstress aside for the sake of the unity of the group. All we are, we have found in song. Just like that little bit. The word are isn't important, but it crescendos to we have found, and then the word in is much less important. we have found in song. You have drawn this song from us. And then the word us, we say, you have drawn this song from us. But we're stuck singing that note for 3 beats. So the feeling of us has to be sustained over 3 beats. So that means there's a little crescendo and decrescendo happening on that word. Songs of life unfolding fly overhead. Did you notice that the big part of O, the loudest part of O, was later than the downbeat? It wasn't fly O, it was fly overhead. To help the poetry, fly overhead. Fly overhead? You see, we're really helping the translation of the story, telling the story better through the way in which we are articulating. Don't you love this line, tenors and basses? Moving like the rise and fall of wings, hands that shape our calling voice. Now the melody crescendos to the high note, calling voice, but we would be accenting the wrong syllable if we did it that way. Hands that shape our calling voice. See if you can be poetic. One of the hardest phrases to do this is, the night is restless with the sound we hear. Did you hear what happened on the word restless? Again, the high note isn't the accented note. The night is restless with the sound we hear. Here's a couple of ones that are hard. Listen to the broken, shaken, and what happens on the word cries? Cries is the high note. But again, as we say, great artists don't make the high note the loudest note. The high note is always going somewhere. And in this case, it's going to the word pain. Is broken, shaken by the cries of pain. And in doing it that way, the word cry feels like a real cry. A cry is inside. I cry, as opposed to I cry. I hope that makes sense. Then sopranos at measure 42. And we will fly, answering you. So that whole sequence, all of those measures, it's so easy because it's up on the top of the staff to sing quite loudly and to dominate the texture. But it really should be in the background. You are the song that is flying away. It's not something we own. It's not something we're proclaiming. We're giving it away. And as something goes away, it floats away. And it gets softer and softer. And so your song, answering you, and then wild in spirit we will fly at bar 52. This is where the song takes off and soars and goes farther and farther away. So I want you to get only slightly louder to measure 54. No louder than, and probably as a whole group, no louder than piano. And then the high G flat. The wheel of voice. That's the most delicate sound, most personal, but again, handing off that sound to someone else so somebody else can tell the story. I hope that you can play with all of the text in this manner and feel that as you speak these words with great degree of different lengths and importance and unimportance and long and short and heavy and light, that the text really takes root in you and you become a greater storyteller.